Once again, good
Gentlemen, good afternoon. Thank you for sharing your time. Today we're going to listen to the presentation of Jean regarding the result of her research. And before you begin, Jean, let me introduce your panelists. We have the academic coordinator of the school. We have Sir Samuel Escobar,
Yes.
and we have the junior high school,
Hi, good afternoon.
Miss Karen Lapirata. Oh, for the information of everyone, we are recording for educational purposes. So you may now begin, Jean. Please share your screen first before you begin talking.
Good afternoon once again. This afternoon, I'm going to present my research, which is effectiveness, effectiveness of educational TikTok videos in increasing student interest in English 7. Abstract. This research is assess the effectiveness of educational TikTok videos in increasing student interest English 7 for the proposed learning material. The study applied an experimental research design. The respondents of this research are the grade 7 student section Flamingo and Peka of Rodolfo Z. Titong National High School, Nainday Placer, Masbate. The study found that the pre-test scores of the controlled and experimental groups fall under the fairly satisfactory category. On the other hand, the post-test scores of the experimental group is higher than the control group as it get a satisfactory category. The study concluded that there is no significant difference in the pre and post-test scores of the student from the control group, while there is significant difference in the pre and post-test scores of the student from the experimental group. One of the recommendations of this study is to make use of educational TikTok videos in other topics of English 7. Rationale. TikTok is a popular social media app that allows users to create, watch, and share 15 seconds video chat on mobile devices or with webcams. Student interest in a topic holds so much power. Students' thoughts about technology in education prove modern trends especially thought to be efficient tools for learning, engagement, and development. Student thoughts about based on the information above, the researcher was compelled to conduct a study on the educational technologies as a learning tool. Theoretical background. Connectivism learning theory, digital learning, use TikTok videos as a learning tool and learning material. Statement of the problem. This research assessed the effectiveness of educational TikTok videos in increasing student interest English 7 for the proposed learning material. Specifically, it answered the following questions. Number 1. What are the pre-test performances of the control using the traditional strategy and experimental using the educational TikTok videos group based on the deaf and miles for English 7? 1.1. Use appropriate grading strategies for scanning skimming, and close reading. Number 2, what are the post-test performances of the control using the traditional strategy and experimental using the educational TikTok videos group based on the aforementioned learning competency? Number 3, are there significant differences in the pre and post-test scores of the student from the controlled and experimental groups based on the mentioned learning competency? Based on the findings, what learning material can be corrected? Research methodology, design, experimental research. Respondent, the grade 7 students, section Flamenco 15 students, and section PICAP 15 students of Rodolfo Z. Tito National High School, Nainday Placer Municipality. Environment, Rodolfo Z. Titong National High School, Nainday Placer Municipality. Instrument, the first part of the questionnaire is a pre-test and the second part of the questionnaire is a post-test. Data gathering, after the approval of the research advisory committee, will proceed to ask permission from the principal of Rodolfo Z. Titong National High School, Nainday Placer Municipality. Treatment of data, sample mean, standard deviation, sample data, and scoring procedure. Chapter 2, Group. Control group get a means 6 and Table 1 pretest performances of the controlled and the experimental groups for the competency by using appropriate reading strategies for scanning and close reading. Table 1 shows the pretest performances of the controlled and the experimental group for the competency using for scanning, skimming, and close reading. The control group get a mean score of 6 and fill in the category of fairly satisfactory. It's a verbal description state that the student performed poorly in the topic of using reading strategies for scanning, skimming, and close reading, while the experimental group get a mean score of 7.60 and it is under the category of fairly satisfactory. Its verbal description state that student performed poorly in the topic of using approach reading strategies for skimming. The data show that in both controlled and experimental group, regardless of their groupings, the groups both have fairly satisfactory initial background of the topic using reading strategies for skimming. The students' scores are lower on the pretest because they have yet studied the use of reading strategies for skimming, scanning, and close reading. 2020. Both simply pretests are non-graded assessment where a teacher determines each student's knowledge of and proficiency in the subject matter. When used at the beginning of the course, pretests give teachers a way to gauge student knowledge, prepares for future content, and in the end measure the student growth. 2022. Pre-tests also serve as a way for educators to understand where gaps in learning may have formed during breaks from school, making that first of the semesters more vital. Harm-Bakal 2022. Since both groups fairly performed well in the topic of using reading strategies close reading, there is still a percentage for new learning possible graphs once the discussion and a new approach are given. Table 2. Table 2 presents the posted scores of the controlled and the experimental group on this perspective under the sake of the study. The control group get a mean score of 5.40 and under the category of fairly satisfactory. Its verbal description states that the student fairly performed well in the topic of using for scanning, skimming, and close reading. Meanwhile, the experimental group get a mean score of 12.60 and it is under the category of satisfactory. Its verbal description states that the students averagely perform in the topic of using reading strategies for scanning and skimming and close reading. The data show that the experimental group gathered a higher mean score compared with the control group. This can be attributed to the experimental group covered with the intervention of the using TikTok videos as a learning tool. TikTok lesson plans are now popular to help students engage in and beyond the classroom. These videos are also great for highlighting key points from a lesson as an after-class resource that the students can view from home to help reinforce any points made in the lesson. The students also do not need to be disturbed by taking notes when they know these videos will be available. It allows them to concentrate more so ideas are assimilated more consciously. This helps students to condense and simplify their thoughts, making lessons easy to remember. Edwards 2022. The study of Arjuna and Ananda 2022 found that this TikTok application is considered capable of attracting the attention of students in learning so that it can increase students' activity and learning outcomes. In addition, the study by Jacobs et al. 2022 concluded that TikTok has a positive influence on the learner's performance as well as can increase the engagement of the students' learning. Thus, it resulted in the students in the experimental group performing better in their post-test compared with the control group. Therefore, TikTok has a positive influence on the learner's performance and engagement of students' learning. Table 3. Pre and post scores of the control group. Table 3 shows the learning competency of the control group exposed to the traditional teaching. During the process, the control group got a 5.40 40, the result of the mean score both in the pre and post test in the control yielded a difference in learning competency is 0.60. In addition, the paired sample t-test in learning competency is 1.15. Also, the p-value of the learning competency of the control group is higher than the field value. As a result, the decision of the learning competency is to accept HO. This means that there is no statistical difference in the mean score and in the pre and post test of the learning competency. The data show that mean score of the and the difference of the mean pre-test, pre and post test of the control have a slight decrease. Thus, we can say that the traditional way of teaching students of the control group has a little increase the students' knowledge about using appropriate reading strategies for scanning and skimming and close reading lessons. Also, the statistical test result of no significant difference in the means of the learning competency can be attributed to the student mean score. This is because the mean score of between the pre and post score have slightly decreased. With this factor being revealed, more improvement can be made from traditional teaching to students as supported by Jacobs et al. 2021 and Arjuna and Ananda 2022. This justifies the main objectives of the current study to introduce educational TikTok videos as a learning tool in school and to improve the scores of the students. Table 4. Pre and post scores of the experimental group. Table 4 shows the pre and versus post score of the learning competency of the experimental group using the educational TikTok videos as a learning medium. During the pre-test, the experimental group got a mean score of 7.60. Meanwhile, during the post-test, the experimental group got a mean score of 12.60. The result of the mean scores of both in the pre and post-test score in the experimental group yielded a difference in learning competency is 5. In addition, the paired sample t-test result in learning competency is negative 6.17. Also, the p-value of the learning competency of the experimental group is lower than the field value. As a result, the decision of the learning competency is to reject HO. This means that there is a statistical difference in the mean score in the pre and post test of the learning competency in the experimental group. The statistical test result of there is significant difference in the means of the learning competency can be attributed to the respondents' mean scores. Also, the mean score of the experimental group have increased. Thus, we can say that the educational TikTok videos as a learning tool have increased the learning and the students' knowledge about using appropriate reading strategies for scanning and Scanning, skimming, and close reading. The, the increased result is the same as the studies by Jacobs et al. 2021 and Ardiana and Ananda 2022. They have observed that TikTok can increase the student interest in learning. Overall, the educational TikTok videos as a learning tool approach increase the learning performance of the students. Chapter 3 Summary of findings, conclusion, and recommendation. Summary of findings. Based on the problems raised in the study, the following findings are being presented. The mean score of the control group in the pre falls under the fairly satisfactory category. Meanwhile, the mean scores of the experimental group in the pre-test fall under the category of fairly satisfactory. Number 2, the mean score of the control group in the post-test falls under the fairly satisfactory category. The mean score of the experimental group in the post-test falls under the satisfactory category. Number 3, there is no significant difference in the pre and post-test scores of the student from the control group. On the other hand, there is a significant difference in the pre and post-test scores of the students from the control group based on the learning competency of the topic of using reading strategies such as scanning, skimming, and close reading. Conclusion. There is no significant difference in the pre and post score of the students from the control group based on the mentioned learning competency. There is a significant difference in the pre and post score of the students from the experimental group based on the mentioned learning competency. Recommendation. Based on the findings of the study, the following are humbly recommended by the researcher. For one, make the use of the findings of this research for a research topic of using educational TikTok videos on students. Conduct the study with a large group of respondents. Conduct the study and getting the phenomenological experience of the student in using the TikTok educational videos and make use of the educational TikTok videos in other topics of English 7. Output of the study. This chapter presents the output of the study, the effectiveness of educational TikTok videos in increasing the student interest in English 7. These videos discuss the lessons of using appropriate reading strategies for scanning, skimming, and close reading based on the DepEd for English 7. Each video has a duration about 30 seconds long. The first three videos contain a picture of first we provided a text about the meaning of scanning close reading and there is under situational example each. The respondents were reading those texts and at the same time they could hear in the background music of sound training music on tape. So let's watch the first video.
Is there no sounds, Jane?
But sir,
Can you share with sounds? There's no
oh,
sound.
oh, wait one sec.
When you do share screen, when you stop the share screen, then just
It's
share na lang the sounds.
box.
Then share screen again. Make sure to click the sounds with audio. Yeah, there. Confirm stop sharing.
Share again and
Share again, then
wait,
with audio. You notice
wait,
that part? Share screen,
wait,
open the video
wait, wait.
first, then share screen, share with audio.
Share computers.
Yes.
So, balik atos. Wait a sec. Mag-hyperlink Japan ka, sir. I-hyperlink na lang ako. Dali niyo. So that's why. So,
No ng ligaya ang ating pagsasama na parang wala nang sisira ng lahat at bakit no ng ligaya.
Move to the next, Jane. Learning output.
wait a sec. Learn. Call service. Na nasa call.
I got my head out the sunroof. I'm blasting our favorite tunes. I only got one thing on my mind. You got me stuck on the thought of you. You're making me feel brand new. You're more than a sunshine in my eyes. You got
So, so this is the first three videos. So, replay Japan.
Yes.
Scanning is a reading rapidly in order to find specific facts. Example, when looking up a word in a dictionary, finding your friend's name in the contacts directory of your phone, to check the time schedule of a program in an agenda, to check the price of a specific item in a catalog, to know a particular information from a text. Scanning is a reading rapidly in order to find specific facts. Close reading, a strategy used to comprehend and analyze the text closely. Example, providing a summary of the text to be read through a picture walk. A picture walk is a preview technique when you page through a text without reading it, just looking at the pictures and making observations and predictions. When your teacher told you to read the poem carefully, then later, your teacher asks you, "What is your interpretation of the poem?" Close reading, a strategy used to comprehend. Skimming is reading rapidly in order to get a general overview of the material. Example, reading the headlines of the newspaper to quickly get the general news of the day. Magazines to quickly discover which article you would like to read in more detail. Bussiness and travel brochures to quickly get informed. To look through the television guide or program schedule to plan your evening. Skimming is reading rapidly in order to get a general overview of the material.
And that's all. And thank you.
Right, thank you, Jean, for the presentation. Now let's entertain questions. Please stop sharing for now. Okay, so let's hear first from Sir Sam, sir.
Okay, Jin, no? Thank you for your presentation. So, how was your experience, no? Conducting this study?
Yes. Struggle yun, sir. Today
Struggle,
kayo
no?
kapangitang mga respondent. One ay research environment. Oh, good. Dugay kay ko na. Kung ano ko, sir, nadugay. As in,
Okay. So, it's okay. It's part of your study, man. Then we're also happy and glad that you were able to come up with this research study, no, that we can that others students, no, can use in their study, no, in as a form of let's say motivation, no, to the students to it can be an integral part, no, in the teaching and learning process, no. It can be added, no, as motivation in the teaching and learning process, no. So by the way, where did you get this idea, Jin?
sa kuhan, sir. Tignan ko yung ko, sir. Tapos
Ah.
ka nang naakoy ka ng TikTok app, sir. Naakoy TikTok application, sir, ba niya? Muto kay ako banggong FYP kay about mo sa mga educational TikTok videos, sir.
Okay.
Dagan kay sa lang. Yung murag na-inspired na lang sad ko. Maganahan ko
Okay.
ni isuway. Isuway
So,
ba kung kuhan tinuod pa syud.
actually, Jin, this is already used, no? It has been used, no, by teachers, but not in a formal classes, no. It's only given as motivation to students, no, before the class, no, before a class. I could still remember, no, my teachers would give a dance, no, or a song before the start of formal class. Anyway, thank you, Jin, for this idea.
Thank you,
And
Sir Sam.
congratulations.
Now let's listen to Miss Karen, Miss.
Hello.
ma'am.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so thank you for your presentation. In this one, okay, well, actually, as mentioned, Sir Sam, no, this is also used most of the students, especially in this era, mga Gen Z. Okay, so
Yes, ma'am. Kuan kay
mostly,
sikat.
yeah, this is very common, no, because it's because of the high technology now. Okay, so with regards to this one, so you only use this one topic, skimming,
Yes, ma'am.
close reading, and scanning. Okay,
Yes.
for this one. So, well, anyway, I can see here your results that there could be different results based on your study. So probably, okay, it really helpful. It can really help the students to boost their knowledge or their performance in the
Or
classes.
kana
Okay.
interest.
Yeah, the interest. So especially if mga
TikTok
TikTokerist,
mga estudyante.
TikTokerist, the students, so they have this one. But katong wala, hirap po, they can have another sources naman. Well, anyway, okay, I understood your study. So that's it.
All right. So it seems that you thank you, Miss Karen, for the positive feedback as well. So it seems the panel are ready to give verdict regarding your research. So, Miss Karen, what can you say?
Okay, it's a pass for me.
Thank you, Miss. And Sir Sam,
It's also a pass for me,
thank you.
Jean.
So congratulations,
Yes,
Jean,
sir.
for successfully defending your research. So you are done with the fourth level for the research process. So for now, okay, we would like you to enjoy the um, this joyous event of passing and successfully defending your research results. Thank you as well, dear panelists, for your guidance. You may take your graceful exit. Jean, please stay. We will stop also the recording.